From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for the March 22nd edition of Carolina Week. I'm Courtney Robinson.
And I'm Anthony Stokes. Our top story tonight. A lot of students are upset after UNC system leaders voted to raise tuition last Friday. UNC Chapel Hill and North Carolina State students will see a boost of $250 for in-state residents and $1,500 for out-of-state residents. 13 other schools of the 16-campus system will see a $225 increase for in-state students. Members of the Board of Governors say the increase is a result of legislative budget cuts over the last 3 years. SVP-elect Matt Calabria says the increases have to stop somewhere.
One of the biggest problems is that this is a trend. It's not one tuition increase, it's a continual increase of our tuition, and we really feel like the Board of Governors is overstepping the bounds of what's necessary here.
There were student representatives from many of the UNC system schools. Students protested with signs and t-shirts, but their passionate demonstration ended in defeat.
Following the vote to increase tuition, many students have money on their minds. Vice Chancellor for Research and Economic Development, Tony Waldrop, joins us in the newsroom. Mr. Waldrop, a lot of people are questioning why the university is spending billions on construction in the midst of budget cuts and staff layoffs. What's your response?
Well, as I'm sure you're aware, several years ago, citizens of North Carolina passed the higher education bond referendum. These monies were slated for only one purpose, that is to construct new buildings and renovate old buildings on campuses of the University of North Carolina system. We were very fortunate to receive $500 million from that higher education bond referendum, and along with additional monies from the university, we are doing major renovations as well as constructing new state-of-the-art buildings.
Some students fear all this planning for the future is affecting the quality of their education today. Can you comment on that?
I'd be glad to. And in fact, I would argue that it certainly is affecting the quality of their education for the future. As I just mentioned, the monies from the higher education bond referendum can only go for construction of the buildings. But by doing that and by renovating old buildings, we're creating new classrooms, new research laboratories, new spaces that I believe will certainly enhance the education of virtually every undergraduate at Carolina.
And finally, what can students and faculty expect to see in the future?
I think what we'll see is classrooms, advances such as the advancement that we saw when journalism was able to move into this wonderful facility here in Carroll Hall. And we'll see that across many disciplines so that students will be able to be learning right at the cutting edge, learning from the best faculty, and doing it in state-of-the-art facilities in ways that most undergraduates do not have the opportunity to do.
Mr. Waldrop, thank you for joining us. Stay with Carolina Week for continuing coverage of the tuition increase.
While some are trying to get the word out about tuition increases, another group is spreading a different message. The 6th Annual Women's Week kicked off Monday. The wind didn't stop students from dropping by and enjoying free food and pick up brochures from different women's advocacy organizations. Events are planned throughout the week, including a women's health fair and several speakers. Organizers are hoping the week will teach students about more than just women's rights.
But I think being an advocate in any way that's going to help people in general, or even animals or the environment, I think is very important. And so I think that just being an advocate for change is what we're looking for.
Women's Week is sponsored by the Carolina Women's Center.
Panel members have named the next Daily Tar Heel editor. Junior Michelle Jarbo will serve as the 138th DTH editor. Jarbo is a journalism and studio art major from Clarkston, Michigan. Her work as editor begins in May. Committee members say Jarbo's dedication and communication skills made her stand out from the other candidates. Saturday was the first anniversary of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Carolina Week found out what Tar Heels think about the situation in Iraq 1 year later. Dan Seiler has more.
It was a spectacular day on Saturday, and that's about all anyone could agree on once talk turned to Iraq. Then people's opinions ran freely. Ask if the invasion was justified, and you might hear this.
I do. Yes, I do. And the reason I do is because we still don't know any more than what we knew. And what we needed to know is what happened to the weapons of mass destruction that Iraq had.
But many feel the opposite.
I think that we came over there with certain ideas, certain goals, certain things we were looking to get, and basically we didn't find those.
I mean, I think terrorism is a real thing, but I think that the way that we went about trying to solve it is detrimental. I think it's sort of a positive feedback loop, and it just creates a lot more terrorism.
Support for the war seems dependent on if you think taking out Saddam Hussein made places like Franklin Street safer.
Even with Saddam Hussein out of power, I don't think it makes the world safer.
Saddam Hussein was one of our enemies, definitely, and the fact that he's locked up has made us much more safe, I believe. That region itself may be a little more safe. You know, Iraq might not be attacking us, but it's caused everybody else to hate us even more.
Obviously, we have many examples of why that wouldn't be the case. For example, Madrid bombings.
The student body is less sure that there was a link between terrorists and Iraq.
I would say that there's a good possibility that there is a link between the two. Yeah, there's definitely a link between the two.
I guess. I mean, I guess it is. But at the same time, no, I don't think so, because I don't know exactly how to answer that. I wouldn't really know how to say exactly what terror is.
No one on campus thinks the occupation is a game.
For all the investment we've already had there and lives lost already, that maybe they're just going to continue until they feel like they have some kind of stable victory.
I think we plan to stay there until there's a bloody uprising and we get kicked out.
Flag wavers should be happy. Young people say they're going to vote. But will the handling of the war change who they'll vote for?
No, I wasn't going to vote for Bush anyways.
No, I'm probably still going to vote straight Republican.
I didn't support Bush before, so I'm not going to support him now.
It's not going to change who I vote for. It's going to solidify why I'm voting for. I mean, really. And I guess you can figure out who I'm going to vote for from that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to vote for Bush for a lot of other reasons, but it definitely, seeing how he's handled the situation is really frightening.
Yet Election Day fears don't translate to the kids on the quad, and Operation Iraqi Freedom's first anniversary passes quietly. In Chapel Hill, I'm Daniel Seiler, Carolina Week.
As you can see, the war in Iraq looks to be a major issue in this year's presidential election.
While John Edwards is being considered as John Kerry's running mate, the search is on for Edwards' replacement in the U.S. Senate. Businessman Erskine Bowles and Representative Richard Burr were on campus Friday and participated in a Q&A session at a writers' conference sponsored by the School of Journalism and Mass Communication. Bowles, who lost his bid for the Senate to Elizabeth Dole in 2002, passed out a jobs plan, highlighting his goal to bring more work to North Carolinians. Burr, a Republican from Winston-Salem, said he also wants to create more jobs for our state through a tobacco buyout. Dole also was there to talk about her first-year challenges in the Senate. Dole, who will become the senior senator when Edwards' term expires, said she has worked to fight hunger in the U.S., help workers in the tobacco industry, and increase funding for community colleges. As for Burr's campaign, Dole said she plans to be
very active. As a matter of fact, I just talked with him yesterday, and he asked me about doing an event for him, and I said, absolutely, I'm there for you. And already I've hosted several events.
But Bowles has much more name recognition because of his run in 2002. Dole says Burr is working hard to get his name out there also.
Richard has started early. He's been working very hard, really just crisscrossing the state, so I think his name recognition is getting higher. Certainly Erskine starts with a higher name recognition, but he's raising the funds that are needed, and he's a very thoughtful candidate, and I think will do very well.
The Associated Press recently reported that Burr has already raised $5 million, more than any other campaign in the country for an open Senate seat. The numbers are staggering. 1 in 4 college students has an STD, and blacks are 11 times more likely than white Americans to get AIDS. Statistics like these have student and community leaders taking action. On Saturday, students from historically minority colleges and universities across North Carolina attended the Stomp Out HIV/STDs conference at North Carolina Central. The effort is in response to the high rate of HIV infection among African American youth. Among those living with HIV in North Carolina, 70% are minorities. NC Division of Public Health Officer Phyllis Gray says students have 3 options.
You can be abstinent. That is the one method that prevents the spread of HIV. You can be monogamous, and monogamous means being faithful to one partner, and certainly if those first 2 don't work, always use a condom. Those are the only 3 things that we have to combat HIV at this point.
On the UNC campus Monday night, there's a showing of the documentary Voices of HIV, featuring stories of North Carolinians living with the disease. Have you ever wondered what's in a name?
Pick out one for this big guy and something will be in it for you.
Awaken your creativity. Do your thing at the Art School at the Art Center in Carborough.
To a child, a little of your time can make a lifetime of difference. That's why the Greenville Family Partnership sponsored a hike, because kids with something to do are less likely to do drugs.
Standing right in front of them.
Whether you're a good storyteller or a good listener, you can help. To find out about community drug prevention programs, call toll-free 1-877-KIDS-313.
I can keep a kid off drugs.
It's the largest outdoor drama audition in the nation, and it attracted hundreds of performers to Chapel Hill this weekend. Judges from 13 outdoor theaters from across the country had the tough job of picking about 50 cast members from 200 competitors. In one event, dancers had to quickly learn a choreographed piece and perform it in groups for the judges. After the auditions, the competitors anxiously checked the callback list to see if they'd move on. Those who made it on the list had to wait outside Gardner Hall to perform a second time. 19-year-old actress Megan Bailey came all the way from Alabama for the auditions.
I'm really interested in theater, and I'm a musical theater major, and I want to perform for the rest of my life, so I might as well start building my resume now, and I'm hoping to get a job this summer.
Unto These Hills was one of the plays actors auditioned for. It's showing in Cherokee, North Carolina in June.
You've heard of Finding Nemo, but what about Naming Nemo? The Carolina Union Activities Board is sponsoring a naming contest for the new fish in the Union. Some of the entries include an angel fish called Wanda, a sucker-mouth catfish named Hoover, and a blood parrot known as Marigold. You have until next Monday to name your favorite fish. You can place your entries in the box near the fish tank upstairs in the Student Union. The winners will be announced Wednesday, March 31st, and if you win, you'll get to take home a copy of Finding Nemo on DVD.
Well, something fishy was going on with our basketball team this weekend.
Yeah, the
Brad
Heels
Jones
were all washed up. Not much of a tournament for both the women's or the men's teams.
Yeah, a disappointing end to both basketball seasons, the men's and the women's. But other teams at Carolina did compete very well, some against the Duke Blue Devils also, which will bring us into our sports trivia question this week, which is, how old is the Carlisle Cup? 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years? We'll have the answer when we come back.
There is really only one boy, one girl, one tree, one forest, one ocean, one mountain, one sky, and one simple way to care for it all. Please visit earthshare.org and learn how the world's leading environmental groups are working together under one name, EarthShare. One environment, one simple way to care for it.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Wanted some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about freaked out life. Nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
After defeating Air Force 63-52, the Heels moved on in the NCAA tournament to second round action against Texas on Saturday. Texas and Carolina pushed the pace in this one, which was no problem for the Longhorns, but tired a Tar Heel team short on depth and in foul trouble. In the second half, the Heels whittled down a 13-point Longhorn lead to just 2 and were down 3 with 8 seconds left. Rashad McCants tried to come up clutch again, but couldn't get enough breathing room. His shot comes up short, and Texas advances to the Sweet 16 with a 78-75 win. With their season done, the Heels headed back to Chapel Hill Sunday night for they headed back Carolina Blue. Only 2 number 4 seeds have lost the 13 seeds in women's basketball tournament history. Sunday, the Tar Heels were trying to avoid becoming the 3rd when they took on Middle Tennessee State. Let's get right to the action. Leah Metcalf sends the quick pass to Camille Little, who drops this one in off the glass to bring the Heels within 6 points. Little led the Heels with 19 points. With 30 seconds remaining, UNC had a chance to tie the score at 64, but Candace Sutton missed this one underneath. Patrice Holmes had 2 clinching free throws for the Lady Raiders with 8.3 seconds left to lead Middle Tennessee State to a 67-62 upstate victory over North Carolina. Despite getting upset in the first round of the NCAA tournament, the women's basketball team has plenty to look forward to. Reporter Wes Wilson has the story.
Some say things only get better with age. If that's the case, the future looks bright for Carolina women's basketball. Freshmen Camille Little and Ivy Latta are the cornerstones of a program that could get very good, very quickly. There's no other freshman combination in the country that averaged more points than Carolina's combination. And although head coach Sylvia Hatchell knew her young duo was good, she admits that at times even she's been amazed.
So there have been times in practice where, they just made me smile, and I just sort of looked at my assistants and shook my head like, yeah, that's great, And
the accolades, they just keep piling up for these two. Little, the daughter of former Harlem Globetrotter Robert Little, was the 2004 ACC Rookie of the Year and a Kodak All-America finalist. She's the only freshman of the 48 finalists. She was also selected to the first-team All-ACC. The other 4 selections, all seniors. But it's easy to rack up awards, though, when you lead the ACC in double-doubles and average about 14 points and 8 rebounds every game, something her freshman teammate Latta is very well aware of.
Oh, man, she brings a lot. She brings enthusiasm. She brings rebounding, scoring, anything you wanted to bring that night, she would bring it.
And Latta herself has been no slouch either. The energetic freshman finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting behind Little, was a second-team All-ACC selection and 3-time ACC Freshman of the Week, averaging 14 points and 3.5 assists per game. Hatchell and Little say Latta does much more than whatever shows up in the box score.
Yes, Ivory is a leader, and that's what our team needed. She's a vocal leader, she has enthusiasm, and enthusiasm is contagious. It breeds enthusiasm. And so, she plays with such passion and heart out there, and that carries over to the rest of our team.
Before the tournament began, Coach Hatchell let the team dream a little by letting the girls measure their ring size. And so I will leave you with this.
My ring size is an 8.
Think about it, maybe 9 or maybe 9.5, 10.
Within the next 2 or 3 years, these two might just have to measure their ring size once again. In Chapel Hill, I'm Wes Wilson, Carolina Week Sports.
With 4 starters coming back from a squad that finished second in the ACC, the Tar Heels should be strong again next season. Although both basketball teams were eliminated this weekend in NCAA tournament play, the women's swimming and diving team stepped up in its fight for nationals. At the championships in College Station, Texas, the Heels placed 23rd overall with 31 points. Seniors Jessie Perquette and Kelly Weeks, along with sophomore Lizzie Bruce, earned All-America honors at the event by their performances on Saturday. Perquette grabbed 3rd in the 200-meter freestyle. A Carolina senior made her mark on the international scene, placing 14th in the World Cross Country Championships. Shalane Flanagan was only 27 seconds behind the winner from Kenya. She helped Team USA grab 7th place and is currently training for the Olympic trials in July. Closer to home, the rivalry between Duke and Carolina is heating up as both schools strive for the Carlisle Cup. The men's lacrosse team looked to gain a valuable point in that race, but in hostile territory. More when Carolina Week Sports returns.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. We have ignition. We have liftoff. Join the next mission aboard the Moorhead Planetarium. For more information, information on Sky Rambles, call 549-6863.
When you buy disposable and overpackaged products for your home, you're really saying, I'm fine with depleting natural resources. Pollute our air and water. Energy? Wasted. People tell you, hey, go for less packaging. Check out reusables. Buy stuff in bulk. Well, you tell them, no thanks. I'd rather throw it all away. Buy smart, waste less, save more.
Even though the Heels won't face Duke in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, the rivalry between the two schools is still white hot. UNC women's tennis travels to Duke Saturday for the ACC regular season opener, competing for a precious Carlisle Cup point. Aniela Mojic and Kendall Klein take the #1 doubles match, but that was about it for the Heels. Duke players apparently ate their Wheaties as Mojic has a tough time losing her singles match. UNC's Leah Barrows comes back from a set down to tie her singles match, but eventually loses in a grueling 3-set nail-biter. The Blue Devils win the match 7-0. The Heels are now 13-4 on the season and will play Wake Forest on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Looking for its 4th straight road win, the men's lacrosse team took on Duke Saturday at a past Koskinen Stadium. It's 5-4 in the second when Johnny Seibold gets the pass and scores to tie it up. Duke talks it over at the half and turns up the heat with big hits and a score by Peter Lamad. That puts the Devils up, but nobody can stop Seibold on this day as he ties it up late. We're heading into overtime. 2 minutes in, Scott Falatek passes to Lance Zimmerman, who lasers one into the back of the net for the win. Heels beat Duke 10-9 in overtime. Why not get excited about this one? By splitting the 2 points in women's tennis and men's lacrosse, UNC still trails Duke in Carlisle Cup standings 11-8. The Heels have only 3 events against the Devils left this season: men's and women's golf and outdoor track. They'll need a sweep to tie for the Cup. Duke has won the Carlisle Cup 2 out of the past 3 years. The women's lacrosse team got beat up in Virginia Saturday. The Wahoos jumped out to a 7-0 lead and didn't look back en route to a 16-9 win. The loss drops UNC to 0-2 in the ACC. The 19th ranked men's tennis team continues to roll along, competing in matches against UNC Greensboro and UNC Wilmington. The Heels barely broke a sweat Saturday in their doubles match with UNC Greensboro and easily earned the doubles point. Sophomore Derek Porter sat out during the doubles matches, bringing fresh legs to center court. He took a singles victory, winning 6-1 and 6-3, while senior Nick Monroe battled for every point but failed to complete his singles match. Another senior, Andy Metzler, rebounded from a close loss last week to punish his opponent 6-2, 6-0. That helped UNC to an easy overall victory against UNC Greensboro, 6-0. The Heels then rehydrated and talked strategy before hosting UNC Wilmington. The Heels stormed out with good teamwork and hard hits to quickly claim the doubles point. In singles action, Metzler punished his opponent with a powerful forehand to earn a victory in his match 6-2, 6-3. Monroe also won his singles point. This M&M combination led the Heels to a victory with a final score of 5-0 against UNC Wilmington. Wilmington came into the match on a 7-game win streak. The men's tennis team next match is on Tuesday against Maryland, starting a run of 7 straight games against ACC opponents. And that obviously will lead us right into our sports trivia question. Again, competing against Duke, men's lacrosse, women's tennis. So how long does the Carlisle Cup competition been going on?
Well, I think Anthony and I both agree that it's 4 years.
4. Yep.
You're both right. It has been going on 4 years. So, it doesn't seem, it seems like a little bit longer than that. But, the Duke-Carolina rivalry is so intense that, sometimes it doesn't take much for it to really stack up the odds.
Well, not much for women's basketball and men's basketball this weekend. So my brackets are still doing good. You guys fill out brackets?
I lost on UNC, so I'm out.
I lost a bunch of points after about the first round, so who knows?
All right. Well, thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Good night.
Good night.